Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was a League Summoner. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. Before we get into it though, check out Bilibili Comics. Bilibili Comics is the official trusted place to read hit exclusive series from top creators. Bilibili Comics is a great online webtoons and webcomics reader among all reading apps. Enjoy the best new comics, manhwa, and exclusive webtoons on Bilibili Comics. Download the app now and jump right into it. The link is in the description. Now let's start this video. Laugardalshall, also known as Laugardalshallen and Laugardalshall Sports Center, was a multi-purpose sports and exhibition venue located in the Laugardalur district of Iceland's capital Reykjavik, with a maximum capacity of over 10,000 people. The complex consisted of two main venues, a sports hall and indoor arena for track and field athletics events. Opened on 4 December 1965, the center was known to have been hosting a variety of sporting events, such as handball, basketball, volleyball and athletics, as well as various other events as a general-purpose venue. From May 6 to 30 this year, however, Laugardalshall was poised to host Riot Games League of Legends 2021 Mid-Season Invitational, the second largest international LoL event of the year, which brought together the top teams from every region. For this year, there would be no play-ins. All teams from all regions would now start off in the same stage of MSI, giving Naruto the chance to see some of the best teams on the very first day of the tournament. Furthermore, there would be 3 stages total, the first being a traditional group stage, with all 12 teams starting there, and they would split into 3 groups of 4 teams. Each of these groups would play a best-of-1 double round robin. The top 2 teams per group would then advance to the next stage, a more traditional format of the MSI, where the 6 remaining teams would play another best-of-1 against each other. The top 4 teams would then advance to the third stage, best-of-5 playoff bracket, consisting of the semifinals followed by the finals. That is DWG Showmaker and Canyon, the world champions. Naruto blurted out in awe and excitement as he looked at the group of people walking ahead of him. It was the first day of MSI 2021, and Naruto and the members of the Occult Research Club, along with Office, Luffy and a carefully disguised Kuroka, had arrived at Laugardalshall Sports Center with thousands of League fans from all over the world. Then shall we go and ask for their signatures together, Naruto-kun? Akeno giggled playfully while leaning her body against his with her breast smashing around his arm. Ashia pouted and looked like she wanted to interfere, but Arena and Zenovia were quick to unintentionally turn her attention away, with the chestnut-haired angel pointing her hand toward a shop selling League merch and toys. I don't think it's possible for us to do that at the moment, but I believe there will be a fan meeting at the end of the day, so we can all go ask for signatures later. Ryuz informed them calmly while reading the event schedule an organizer had given to her earlier, despite feeling slightly annoyed at how Keno was trying to seduce her boyfriend again. Since she did not look like she was being serious most of the time, it was hard for Ryuz to tell if Akeno really liked Naruto more than just a cute and reliable Kohai, Jr., or she flirted with him simply to satisfy her sadistic side. "You're not supporting the LJL's representative, Naruto-sama?" Luffy asked in interest. Like Office, she and Kuroka were both invited to come to watch the MSI with them, since they both loved League and played it frequently to kill their free time. Despite having the constant risk of being seen and recognized by Sekvera and her servants, they had both accepted Naruto and Ria's invitations, and came with them. Azazel had told them that he would try to take care of Kuroka's situation with Surziches, since having Office as their ally was not something the 3 factions could turn down so easily, and she was someone the Ouroboros dragon god had acknowledged as a friend. Trying to do something to Kuroka when Office had chosen to side with them would not be the wisest move to make at the moment, but until he had finished informing the Surziches and the other leaders of the Devil faction about her, she would need to stay in disguise to avoid being seen by the Aigairs. They would go for her head the moment they saw her. Likewise, Vali and the men of his team had chosen to stay behind the hotel, since they were not that interested in the game in general. "Sure, but I am also a big fan of DWG Kia." Naruto shook his head and answered honestly, "The LJL has not made much progress intentionally these past few years, so I learned to not get my hopes up." "DWG Kia is the Korean's representative, right Naruto-kun?" Kiba asked with a smile. He was among the members of the club who played the game just to understand Naruto's abilities and the blonde himself, so he had never tried to dig too deep into it like Ryuz or a diamond player like Kaneko. Asper, who was hiding behind him and Kaneko to avoid being noticed by the people around them, had recently tried to play the game too as a Zilean main, and because he spent a lot of his time in front of the computer. It's safe to say that he's getting better and better at the game, even though he always felt bad whenever toxic players flamed him. Yes, the world champion and the very best team in the world. They are gonna win it all, just watch. Naruto declared confidently before he took out his phone to check the time. "We still have about 2 hours left till the opening ceremony, so anyone wants to go grab some." Zenobia. Ashia. Look. It's a holy sword. Before he could finish, Irina chided loudly and excitedly while holding up with both hands the life-sized sword toy that was none other than Kale's holy sword, the Starfire Spellblade, while standing in front of the toy shop. There are so many cute toys here. Ashia smiled brightly as she walked into the shop and picked up Yumi's stuffed toy to show it to Naruto. Naruto-san, isn't this Yumi-chan? It sure is. Naruto chuckled and nodded his head, wondering how the magical cat would react if he showed her a stuffed toy that looked exactly like her, though his attention could not stop going back to Irina, who was having a toy sword fight with Zenobia despite the shopkeeper's protests. The sight of her holding up Kale's Starfire Spellblade toy gave him an idea that he could not wait to tell Azazel and the others, and see if he could try it out. How much for one of those cat toys, Naya? Kuroka asked the shopkeeper, who was slightly confused by the way she finished her sentence, while grabbing some money from her wallet. Naruto snuck a glance and noticed that there wasn't much inside, but it was as expected for one of the most wanted criminals on the run. As far as he could remember, everything that Kuroka had the past few days was brought to her by Lafay, but not that the blonde witch seemed to mind. Here you go. Handing the money to the shopkeeper, Kuroka then took the Yumi stuffed toy and walked over to her sister, holding the toy out toward her. This is for you, Shirane Naya. I don't want it. The white-haired girl answered stoically and then added before walking away, and please don't call me Shirane. Aw, don't be like that, Shirane Naya. For a split second, Kuroka looked disappointed, but it did not take it long for her to return to her usual self, and chased after her sister, who was doing her best to ignore her, as she jumped around and showed her the Yumi stuffed toy. In all honesty, that went better than how he had expected, but as much as he wanted to let the two sisters have some alone time for bonding, the risk of being seen by the Aguirres was still there. Hey Ravel, can you follow them and make sure that Kuroka isn't gonna run off somewhere we don't know? Naruto asked, turning over to his manager. Yes, of course, Naruto-sama. Ravel nodded her head, though her could see that she looked slightly annoyed because she had to follow two cats. Her rivalry with Kaneko made a lot of sense now he knew that Kaneko was secretly a Nekashu Yokai. We will go with her, Naruto-kun. Seeing the look on his face, Kiba volunteered while raising his hand, making Naruto nod his head gratefully at him and a nervous Gasper, who were both drawing as much attention from the people around them as the girls of their group. After that, the three followed the Yokai sisters, leaving Naruto behind with Office standing at his side. She was checking out the toys in the shop with Lafay and eating a cone of ice cream while wearing a Timo hat that he had given her before leaving the hotel that morning. So, does anyone want to go grab something to eat? It's time, everyone. Riaz announced after checking the time on her phone. It's almost noon, and the opening ceremony would start in a few minutes, followed by the first 6 games of the group stage. Around them, there weren't that many people left, as they all had gone into the indoor arena. Make sure you have your ticket in your hand, okay? Yeah. Naruto grinned and held up his ticket. To say that he was excited would be an understatement. Let's go. I can't wait. Sorry to say this, but I think you will have to wait a little bit longer. Before they could go into the arena, a voice echoed and stopped them, before a magic circle appeared on the floor a few feet away from them. Ria's eyes widened, as she and anyone who knew about the magic could easily recognize it to be a teleportation spell. The first person to appear from the magic circle was a beautiful young foreign woman who wore a Japanese girls' school uniform under a blue and orange set of armor, with blonde hair and sky blue eyes, but the sneer on her face made her look less beautiful than she should have been. The next was a 2 meters tall man with a muscular body similar to that of Saryark, and had shoulder-length gray hair. Like the blonde, he wore what appeared to be an attire of a Japanese school uniform, more specifically, the Gakuren uniform generally worn by Japanese schoolboys in the fall, covered by what could possibly to be Greek-inspired armors. Standing there with his arms crossing on his chest, his expression spoke of arrogance and disdain. The last person, who appeared to be their leader with a powerful aura about him, was a handsome young man with dark hair and blue eyes, though also dressed in a Japanese school uniform, which he combined with what seemed to be a battle garb of an ancient Chinese warrior. Held in his right hand was a spear, which caused a feeling of unease to anyone who looked at it. Hello there. The blonde greeted them with a childish wave of her hand, her face marred by that ugly sneer of her that seemed somehow made her look cheerful. Oh great. Kuroka stated absently. Who are you? Riaz asked firmly, looking at the 3 strangers standing before her and her group. Judging from the way Kuroka had reacted to the arrival of the 3 of them, the crimson-haired heiress had already had a basic idea of who they were. Do you really think that we'd answer you? The hulking brute of a man growled at her. We have no reason to answer any of your questions, filthy devils. All you need to know is that we are here to take her back. The leader spoke in a calm and confident tone, looking directly at Office, who seemed to be in her usual self, and had a blank look on her face. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, but either way. We are not leaving without the Ouroboros dragon. The atmosphere became very tense after that, as both groups looked like they would rush forward and attack each other at any second, with the only exception being the one who had the spear in his hand. Naruto knew this moment would come the moment he asked Office to come with him. It's just that he did not expect it to come so soon, right before the start of the MSI no less. He also still had no idea who he was, but he knew the guy was extremely dangerous, and it wasn't just because of the spear. I will not come back. Then suddenly, Office broke the silence, speaking up calmly from her spot beside Naruto. I like it here, with these devils. They're fun to hang around with. She continued without a pause, adjusting the green hat she was still wearing on the top of her head. Plus, Naruto also promised me to take care of Office if I ended up not liking this world. And he's the one with the best chance to do it, so unless you give me a proper reason, I will continue to stay with him. She finished calmly, making everyone widen their eyes at her, including Rias and her group. Well, it appears that your old boss has spoken. Naruto smirked as he took a step forward and stood at Ria's side. So even if you have to, there's no way for you three to force her to come back to Chaos Brigade now, is there? He taunted, knowing full well that even if they wanted to they could not force Office to come with them. No, it's impossible. However, we can still kill you and make sure that no one else in this world can help her get what she wants but us. If you can't so much as handle us, then there's no way that you can defeat Great Red and pull him out of the dimensional gap for her. The leader said, pointing the spear at Naruto, who stood his ground and faced him fearlessly. Although the blonde had to agree with his logic. And unfortunately, Office seemed to agree as well. We are wasting our time here, Cao. Let's just kill these filthy devils and those traitors and get what we come here for. The brute spoke up impatiently as he uncrossed his arms. He might be not that knowledgeable about Chinese dynasty, but he knew who Cao was, and from the way that Arthur and Le Fay were descendants of the legendary King Arthur Pendragon and the witch Morgan Le Fay. It was not that hard to tell that this man was a descendant or something like that of the original Cao. I guess it can't be helped then. Hercules, Jean, you two know what to do. Naruto instantly summoned his weapons, getting ready to defend his friends and fight for his life. As much as he wanted to take this fight somewhere else because there were innocent people, not to mention that his idols were inside the arena behind him, it appeared that he didn't have a choice to kill them. I would like to see you try, terrorists. But before his two companions could charge at Naruto and his group, a voice stopped them dead in their track, and everyone turned their heads to see Sariarg and his queen Kusha walking toward them. However, the two weren't the only ones, as Sona Citri and Sikvarik heirs also arrived with their servants, both heirs, looking as calm and collected as they had ever been. Don't mind if we join the party, do you? The strongest youth devil asked with a confident smirk, cracking his knuckles as his queen held up her hands, preparing to fight alongside her king and the other peerages. If Cao and his two companions didn't think they were outnumbered before by Ria's Gremory and her servants, it wasn't difficult for them to mentally admit it that they were really outclassed now. As it wasn't hard for them to recognize the three high-class devils who had just arrived at the scene. Jean clicked her tongue in displeasure, a pair of holy swords forming in her hands. It's wise to just lay down your arms and surrender, terrorists. Sikvarik spoke up coldly as she gave Cao and his companions a chilling glare. Perhaps, but you don't really think that we come here with just the three of us, do you? Cao smiled back at her fearlessly, his tone not even wavering. Apology, we did not come here and intended to return empty-handed. At this very moment, we have already had this city completely surrounded, and our forces have been given the order to kill everything that dares to stand between us and Office Sama, either it is you devils, or the innocent humans of this beautiful city. I will give you an hour, Naruto Uzumaki. Cao then continued as a teleportation magic circle appeared under his feet, 1 hour to decide if you want your hands to be stained with the blood of your friends and those humans around you. Give us Office and we will spare them. So either way, I have to die, is that what you are saying? Naruto asked. You're out of your mind if you think we are going to let you do that. Rias snapped, glaring angrily at Cao. Apparently, it has come to my attention that not only do we have to retrieve the Ouroboros dragon, but we also need to make sure that she's not gonna run off somewhere else in the future. To make sure that it won't happen, Naruto Uzumaki has to die. You can die with him too if that's what you want. Cao stated casually, putting his spear on his shoulder. Remember, you have an hour to decide if his life is worth the blood of many. Make your choice wisely, devil, because we will make sure that the attack on your peace treaty is nothing but a fancy show of fireworks. And with cold threat, Cao and his two companions were teleported away, causing a heavy silence to befall the four peerages that were standing in Lugardalshal Sports Center. Sona Kaichu, we can't hand Naruto-kun over to them. Before Naruto could say anything, Momo beat him to him, speaking up to her master Sona Citri, who had an unreadable expression as she locked eyes with her childhood friend and rival Rias. It wasn't hard for her to tell that the Gremory heiress had already made up her mind with the rest of the Occult Research Club. What do you think, Sariarg, Sikvarik? The Citri heiress asked as Tsubaki put a hand on the white-haired bishop's shoulder to assure that everything would be okay. The Gears heiress merely crossed her arms under her chest and closed her eyes. Sariag meanwhile, were grinning from ear to ear as he looked at Naruto, which the blonde couldn't help but return with a smile of his own, before nodding his head at Sariag to show him his gratitude, understanding the choice that heir of Bale Devil household had made. I see, so all that is left for us is Uzumaki-kun's decision. Sona nodded her head in understanding, before she turned her attention over to Naruto. All eyes then followed her example and focused on him, even Sakura and her servants, who seemed to have recognized Kuroka. What do you want to do, Uzumaki-kun? All of us here have made up our mind, but I still want to hear it from you. Sariag then walked over to him and placed a hand on his shoulder, smirking as he spoke up the very thing that was on his mind. You ready for war, Naruto? Yes. The blonde answered after receiving an encouraging smile from Rias and his friends. He did not want to die, and he couldn't allow Kao's brigade to take office away either, not when she had begun to enjoy the life this world had to offer. There's only one way he could bring himself to respond to Sariag's question, and one answer to Cao and his forces. Let's go to war. Momo-chan, how's the evacuation? Naruto asked, walking toward Momo Hanakai, the one who had been assigned by Sona with evacuating the citizens in preparation for what they knew would be an inevitable assault on their home. Police officers and military personnel, what little that Reykjavik could spare, had been deployed by the city's government, and were currently helping Momo and the other out with the evacuation. Since the leading force of Reykjavik had been formally informed of the existence of the supernatural world and specifically of the Norse gods in Asgard, it wasn't difficult for Azazel to ask them for help. It's been going well, Naruto-kun. The difficult part, which is getting everyone living at the outskirts of the city as quickly as possible to the disaster shelters near our headquarters, is over thanks to Kuroka-san and Luffy-san. The Bishop of Sona Citri answered as Naruto looked at the crowd of people in front of him worriedly. How much time do we have left? 30 minutes. Naruto answered after checking the time on his phone. Despite having very little time to prepare, the young devils were very fortunate that they were able to set up a safe perimeter around Lugardalshall Sports Center, their chosen headquarters for the battle to come. Under less than 30 minutes, as the citizens of Reykjavik was the most prepared people for disasters in the world, as it was a common knowledge for them that they lived on a very geologically active land. Earthquakes were constant occurrence, even if most of the tremors were too small to be noticeable, and volcanoes were not at all rare. In the event that a giant disaster struck the city, the police would call landlines with a recorded message, and send text messages not only to all residents, but to all summer houses and recreation centers. Those to the east or west of Katla can have up to half an hour to evacuate, but people living in Vik, a village on the south coast, would have a mere 15 minutes to pack up and clear out. For this reason, many residents in the area reportedly had a packed bag ready in case of emergency. Once they had left their home, evacuees would hang a sign on their front door, indicating that they had evacuated safely. Rescue workers would then sweep the areas to be sure it's all clear as the citizens went to nearest evacuation centers and disaster shelters, which were usually just outside local schools and companies, and more than ready to welcome evacuees. It was thanks to Kuroka and Luffy, who were both extremely prominent in teleportation magic, that they were able to quickly move so many people outside the city to the disaster shelters near Lugardalshall Sports Center. So they could set up a large and tremendously powerful barrier around the area, to better protect them from the fights outside. The MSI tournament had also been cancelled, and the pro gamers and spectators had all been moved to a safer location. It was far from the best, but it was all that they could manage in such a short time. Everything is going to be okay, Naruto-kun. Seeing the look on his face, Momo reassured him with a soft smile, which Naruto couldn't help but return after seeing it. Thanks Momo-chan about earlier, I mean. He then added before Momo could say or ask anything, causing her to look at him in curiosity. You were the first to tell Sona Kaichu to not hand me an office over to Cao and his goons. I know that Kaichu wouldn't have come to that option regardless, but it still felt nice to have friends standing up for you, so thank you, Momo-chan. Momo looked at him for a second before she shook her head and told him with another smile, you don't have to, Naruto-kun. She said before looking back at the evacuating people, I only did what felt natural for me at the time, that's all. I see. Naruto smiled before he noticed travel flying toward him from the sports center. So Momo-chan. Are you free this weekend? Do you want to ask me out on a date or what? Aren't you dating Ria-senpai, Naruto-kun? Despite not having any negativity about them. Momo had asked those questions faster than both of them had expected her to, as she looked over to him with a playful smile on her face, and her arms crossing under her chest. Oh yeah, but Naruto was a bit surprised, but not because Momo knew about him and Rias. In an environment like Kuo Academy, of course everyone would know if they were dating or not, even though the two of them had tried to be very careful about it. Before he could continue on, Momo moved her head closer to him. Even though she was standing only to his chest, Naruto was forced to lean back a little as he looked at her with a somewhat nervous smile. Are you trying to build a harem, Naruto-kun? Who gave you that idea? That's an assumption. Plus, it's not that hard to get the idea when there's a pervert that's not shy to tell everyone his dream. Momo answered him casually, making Naruto chuckle in amusement. You don't have to answer that question. I just want to know if you are really asking me out on a date or not. Yeah, kinda, but if you don't want to, Sure, I accept. Momo interrupted him before he could finish, standing straight up and smiling beautifully at Naruto. Lived through this battle, and we will talk more about it. She asked, having noticed Travel making her way toward them, and knowing that Naruto was needed in the war room. Yeah. Naruto grinned and nodded his head at her. So is Ria-senpai okay with it? I assume that she is, and you two have talked about it. She is. Naruto said as Ravel landed on the ground next to him and made her wings of fire disappear. The evacuating people of Reykjavik were shocked, but there's no point in hiding their powers at the moment. Later, they could use memory-altering spells to make sure that they would just remember the battle as a terrible earthquake or something like that. Look, I will see you later, Momo-chan. Please be careful. You too, Naruto-kun. Momo nodded her head and said finally to him as Naruto left with Ravel, heading back to Lagardalshall Sports Center. Since he was in a hurry, the blonde did not see the gleeful expression on Momo's face, as she turned back to lead the citizens of Reykjavik with the policeman, cheeks dusting pink. It did not take long for Naruto to arrive at the temporary war room, where Azazel and the rookies 4 were standing around a table in the middle of the room, with a map of Reykjavik spread out in front of them. Volley was standing with his back leaning against the wall behind Azazel, arms crossing on his chest with a seemingly uninterested look on his face. On the chair next to him was none other than Office, who did not seem to be bothered by the tense atmosphere in the slightest like Volley. Hey everyone. Naruto greeted and informed the group of his arrival, making them look at him as he came to stand next to Rias with Rave. How's the plan coming along? He asked, looking at the map and saw several different colored circles Sona and Rias had drawn on it, after collecting intel from their familiars, and those who they had sent to the outskirts of Reykjavik as scouts. He had no difficulty telling which ones were the areas that they needed to defend, and which were the places that they needed to attack to take down the enemy's city-scaled barriers around the city, which were similar to the one they had used during the peace treaty attack, currently preventing the Alliance's reinforcements from reaching them. Azazel appeared to have contacted the other leaders of the 3 factions and their allies, informing them about everything that had happened. Even Asgard was said to have sent their forces to aid them, but until they could disable the barriers, they were on their own. We are done here. Rias answered him, looking at the map in front of her with a thoughtful expression. All that is left for us to do is spread the world to the others. However, we still don't know how the enemies are going to attack us. Sakura spoke in a calm tone. After a small talk with Rias and Azazel, the Gears heiress had decided to let Kuroka off the hook for the time being, especially after she had aided them with the evacuation of the city. However, it was obvious that she would bring the topic back up later. An attack of this scale, I highly doubt that they are going to come at us with just magicians. Do we know who they are? Naruto couldn't help but ask. From the intel I have been able to gather, they call themselves the Hero Faction. Azazel spoke up and put a small device on the table, which then projected the images of Cao Cao, Hercules and Jean. They are a group consisting solely of humans whose hatred of gods, devils, angels and other supernatural beings borders on the irrational. It appears that like the 3 you have met, all members of the Hero Faction were descendants, or related to the heroes of the past in some ways, hence the name they have chosen for themselves, the Hero Factions. How ironic. Naruto scoffed. They think all supernatural beings in this world are evil, and take it upon themselves to exterminate us, the monsters in their eyes. Azazel chuckled at that and continued. All members of their group seem to be sacred gear, holy swords, demon swords, and or Longinus wielders. In fact, the spear Cao Cao holding in his hand here is none other than true Longinus. The first and most powerful Longinus that has given all sacred gears with the capabilities to destroy the world its name, the same spear which Saint Longinus used to stab Jesus Christ. He is without a doubt the most dangerous enemy we need to watch out for. Sona nodded her head as Naruto and Ravel whitened there in surprise. The other 2 are Jean, the inheritor of the spirit of the Maiden of Orleans, Joan of Arc, and Heracles, inheritor of the spirit of the Greek mythological hero who he shared his name with. Heracles possesses a sacred gear that allows him to generate explosions on anything he comes into contact with, while Jean seems to possess a sacred gear similar to Kibayudo-kun's blade blacksmith, but with the ability to create holy swords instead. From the information Volley had given us, the leading group of the Hero Faction also consisted of Georg, a top-class magician with the Longinus dimension lost, and Siegfried. He owns the sacred gear Twice Critical, and a collection of demon swords, including the legendary demonic Emperor's sword, Gram. Sona finished and Naruto turned his head over to Volley to give him a nod of acknowledgement, which he returned. Arthur Pendragon has volunteered to fight Siegfried if we encounter him, Rias explained. However, he and the leading group of the Hero Faction are not our primary targets. Sona continued as Rias nodded her head in confirmation. Our objective is to take down the barriers around the city as soon as possible, and that's where you came in, Uzumaki-kun. You will lead the attacks against these barriers. Magic of this scale cannot be maintained by a single magician at a single location. The enemies will need several groups to do it. She then pointed her hand at the red circles on the map. These are the locations with the largest magical concentrations, and we have reasons to believe that they are where our targets are. There are 4 of them in total, and we need to take them all down in order for the Alliance's reinforcement to join us. Naruto nodded his head in understanding, but before he could say anything, Sona had continued now. Well, you are the enemy's primary target along with Office. Having you fighting at the front line is strategically not the best move we can make. However, it is undeniable that you are among the strongest fighters of us. Keeping you here and holding you back will only make it much more difficult for us to push through the enemy's defense. Not to mention that your champions are the keys for us to not get completely overwhelmed by whatever they are going to attack us with. How many of them can you summon at the moment? Sekigahara asked. 20 champions, but it will vary depending on their true strength. The only exception being Aurelian Soul. I still cannot summon him without emptying everything I have. Naruto answered, sneaking a glance over to Office, his head perked up upon hearing the name of the celestial dragon. Understandable. Sona nodded her head, making Naruto cock an eyebrow. The more allies we have with us, the better. Even a single champion can make a difference. Issei can provide you with the power you need. He has developed the ability to transfer his multiplied power into a chosen ally, but it's best that you don't push yourself too far. We will need you on the front line. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. Now listen very carefully, Naruto-kun. Sona began as she put her hands on the table and drew an arrow at a specific circle on the map, making Naruto lean forward and look at it. This is what you need to do. You ready, Rias? Naruto asked, looking over at his girlfriend who was double-checking the communication magic circle on her wrist. She had also just finished giving her order to the other members of her peerage. Yes, I am ready. The crimson-haired heiress smiled and nodded her head at her boyfriend, who then glanced to the side and noticed Kaneko standing by herself near a pillar inside the sports center. Like the others, she had gotten ready for the battle and finished gearing up, wearing a pair of black fighter's gloves with pink cat paws prints on the upper palms. From what Kuroka had said earlier, Kaneko never really needed those gloves to fight. Wait here, Rias. Naruto told his girlfriend and then walked toward the white-haired girl, leaving Rias behind to look at him in curiosity. Kaneko heard his footsteps and looked at him. Hey there, Kaneko-chan, can I talk to you for a second? Yes, senpai. I know that it's not my place to ask anything from you, but... He began, lowering himself down so that he could look at her eyes. I know that you are scared of losing control of yourself like what happened to your sister. But don't you think that we will need to give it our all for this battle? He asked, making Kaneko look at him, her eyes glaring dangerously for a second before she lowered her head down, a look of sadness on her face. I know it will be difficult for you. But if we hold ourselves back in this battle, then the person fighting with us can be hurt. What if I am the one who ends up hurting them, senpai? Kaneko asked, her tone low. What if I hurt you in Bucho? You won't, Kaneko-chan. Naruto assured her firmly, making Kaneko look at him. There's no way that you will lose control over yourself, just because you finally accept who you really are, a strong and kind girl. Senpai. Even if you do, I will stop you, Kaneko-chan, before you can hurt me or anyone else, so you don't have to worry about anything. He said, raising a hand and putting it on Kaneko's head, gently stroking her hair. From taking care of Yuki, he knew how much cat loved to be petted, and if Nekashu really had characteristics of a cat, then there should be no problem for him as well, and I know your sister will too. I don't know why, but I know for a fact that Kuroka will not let the same thing happen to you, Kaneko-chan. He added, making Kaneko glance at her sister, who was talking to Volley and the others in her usual self. With the exception of Volley and Arthur, the rest would stay behind to protect Office and the humans currently staying inside the sports center's arena. Sona and Sekigahara both did not trust them enough to let them all go out and fight on the front line. So trust yourself, okay? Watch out for the others for me. He told her finally and stood up to walk back to Rias, who had grouped up with the other high-class devils and Azazel, who would also participate in the battle with them. Naruto-senpai. Before he could come to them, Kaneko called after him loudly, making Naruto turn his head around and look at her. Thank you, she said, giving him a warm smile that he had never seen before on the white-haired girl's normally emotionless face. You are welcomed. The blonde grinned and gave her a thumb up before he continued making his way toward Rias and the others, not noticing a certain black-haired young woman who had also had a soft smile on her face, as she looked at him from behind. Are your champions in position, Uzumaki-kun? Sona Citree asked when Naruto grouped up with them. Yes, Sona Kaichu, they are all in positions. Naruto told her, earning nods of approval from Azazel and the high-class devils. Right, then it's time. We have 5 minutes and Cao Cao is already on the move. Sekigahara informed them, nodding her head to her servant who was among those scouting the enemy's current positions just outside the city. But before the group could start walking away, Naruto decided to stop them, deciding to speak up what had been on his mind since the start of the preparation. Can I say something? He spoke up, making them turn their heads to look at him. I just want everyone to know how grateful I am to have you guys heading into this battle with me. I know that this will be a very difficult battle for all of us. Naruto continued, looking at the people standing in front of him, as Azazel gave him a small smile. The enemies will know we are coming, and I don't expect them to think that you guys would just hand me an office over to them, so they will prepare for us. Odds are we will be heading right into their fires, but we all have prepared for the worst. But the people of Reykjavik, they didn't sign up for any of this. Most of them didn't even know about us this morning, so even if our priority is to take down the barriers around the city, we will do it not because we want to get out. We do it because it's the best we can do to protect the innocent people of Reykjavik. Naruto paused for a second before continuing, his tone becoming serious as he said, so keep the fight between us and them, save as many people as you can. There are still others out there who have yet to make it to the shelters. Those guys from the so-called hero faction think that we're the evils of this world, and that we are nothing but monsters. This fight just isn't about beating them. It's about whether we can prove them wrong or not. Naruto finished, earning nods of approval and smiles from the high-class devils around him, even from someone he had never seen smiling before like Sakura. Alright everyone, you heard the man. Let's go. Azazel announced, good luck and try to not get yourself killed, got it? Yes. And with that, the group parted away with Sariark and his queen setting off to take the east by themselves. Sona heading to the north and Sakura making her way to the south with her servants, while Riaz and Azazel accompanied Naruto to the place that the enemy's representatives were waiting for them. With a number of Naruto's champions, the rest of the Occult Research Club would fight to protect the West, and help out wherever that needed them. It's a good speech, kid. Azazel then tapped his shoulder and said to him as he leaned a bit toward the blonde with a smirk on his face, as Riaz stifled a soft giggle, just don't let them know that you copied the speech of Captain America from Age of Ultron, before the Battle of Sokovia. Let's hope that we do better than them in the movie too. Naruto said to the governor, who nodded his head in approval. Shortly after that, Naruto, being accompanied by Riaz and Azazel, walked to the square in front of Hallgrímskirkja church, where Cao Cao and his two companions were. Obviously, they had chosen the holiest ground in all of Reykjavik to meet with the devils, giving them a feeling of unease, as well as gaining a slight edge if their terms were not met. However, it was thanks to Irina's blessing of an angel that she had given them during the touring around the city on the first day, Naruto and Riaz were able to ignore the holy aura radiating from the church. Sariark, meanwhile, did not look like he was being bothered by it in the slightest. You're 5 minutes late, you know. Cao Cao spoke to them as the three stopped a few meters in front of him, standing up from where he was sitting, and flinging his spear around to put it on his shoulder. Sorry, we got lost on the path of life and had to find our way here. Naruto stated absently, making Heracles glared at him. Nice spear, kid. Mind if I borrow it for a couple of experiments? Azazel chimed in, smiling amusedly at the true Longinus. I do not see the Ouroboros dragon. Ignoring both remarks, Cao Cao said after taking a quick glance around, it appears that you have chosen death for yourself and your friends, Naruto Uzumaki. You know what, Cao Cao? How about we quit talking and get straight to the point? Naruto asked, his demonic power flaring around him. Instantly, Cao Cao made his move, thrusting his spear forward, aiming at Naruto's heart. Despite the speed of its extension, Azazel had no trouble keeping up with it, and shot his hand forward to grab the spear, before it could even reach his student. Cao Cao merely smirked in response, expecting no less from the governor of the fallen angels, and retracted his spear back with the same speed, stabbing it down to the ground to create a holy barrier that negated Ria's attack, a concentrated wave of power of destruction. Once that the crimson and black demonic power had disappeared, Heracles and Jean shot forward, but the inheritor of the legendary Greek hero were immediately stopped by a smirking Azazel, as Naruto clashed swords with the Holy Sword's creator, pushing her back with a series of quick, dashing left and right to dodge her attacks in an alpha strike formation before finishing with a decisive Wuju sword strike, shattering her holy sword and leaving a deep gash on her armor, before Ria sent a massive orb of demonic power at her, forcing Jean to create a demonic erasing sword to shield herself from it. On the other side, Azazel used his wings to shield himself from the explosions generated from Heracles' punches, and then he emerged a second later from them, with only his clothes being slightly damaged to throw a fist into Heracles' gut, causing him to cough blood from his mouth before sending both him and Jean away with a simple flap of his wings, sending Heracles crashing into a building, but his companion was able to turn herself around in midair, and stab the holy sword in her hand down into the ground to stop herself, gritting her teeth at the fallen angel. Cao Cao, who did not make a single move the entire time, suddenly raised his spear up and pointed it at the sky. It was then that Naruto began to feel a trembling in the ground. At first, he had mistaken it for a small earthquake, until Naruto heard howling and roaring noises, and then looked to the streets behind Cao Cao, to see an army of dark, shadowy humanoid monsters rushing toward them, leaving a path of destruction on their paths as they relentlessly tore through the vehicles and buildings on their ways. Do not think that you are the only one who has come prepared, Naruto shouted, causing the smirk on Cao Cao's face to disappear as the ground underneath him cracked and shook violently. Cao Cao wasted no time to leap into the air, just in time to dodge the shard of the monolith, Malphite, as he burst through the ground with his gigantic rocky body, unleashing a mighty roar that shook the entire area before climbing out and facing the incoming waves of monsters. With another roar, the living rock monument hurled at border at the army of monsters, effectively eliminating several of them, but soon more arrived, several of which were larger and nastier than the ones before it, some even matching Malphite in size. Ah, I see, so you have the wielder of the Annihilation Maker in your group. Azazel said in realization as he shot into the air to dodge the holy swords that were summoned on the ground by Jean to pierce him from below. Once he was in the air, the 12-winged fallen angel spread his arms and summoned numerous weapons of light, which he then launched at the monsters that had climbed over the boulder Malphite had hurled at them, killing many in the process. He then disappeared from sight as Jean tried to sneak attack him from behind, and then reappeared behind her to slam his elbow into her back, smashing her into the ground. Above him, Malphite was fighting the larger monsters, destroying them and sending them back with his devastating punches, as Naruto and Rias fought the foot soldier monsters near his feet, trying to clear as many of them as possible. However, it did not take long for them to see that taking down a single monster seemed to be a challenge to both of them. Naruto, Rias. These monsters are anti-monsters, created by Annihilation Maker. Azazel informed the two through the communication magic circles appearing near their ears while fighting Cao Cao, who surprisingly could hold his own very well against him, as far as I can tell. They are specifically designed to fight you devils, so they are highly resilient to your demonic powers and magic. Got it, sensei. Understanding what needed to be done, Naruto then switched his demon blade with another sword, Vanquish, and used it to cut down the monsters around him and Rias in quick succession, finishing them off with powerful shots to head from the silver revolver in his left hand. Rias then wasted no time informing her peerage and the others, telling them exactly what they needed to do to take down the monsters that had been created to deal with them specifically. Heracles, who emerged from the building Sariark had sent him into with numerous missile-like objects on his body, fired a barrage of missiles at Naruto and Rias, generating a massive explosion that annihilated the entire area around them. The descendant of the Greek mythology hero smirked victoriously at the result of his balance breaker's attack. But his expression soon turned upside down when a strong gust of wind dispersed a cloud of smoke and revealed a beautiful woman with reddish-orange hair, wearing a full set of golden armor that were glowing like the sun standing in front of Naruto and Rias. Holding in one hand a long sword and a shield that were radiating a protecting aura that she had used to cover the couple from the explosions. Celestial fire. The radiant dawn and the aspect of the sun, Leona, roared as she thrust her sword toward the sky, making the clouds part and summoning a beam of solar flare at Heracles, who were blasted away by the explosion of concentrated sunlight, even though he had tried to dodge it. Just when Naruto was about to follow up with an attack of his own, a new enemy arrived at the scene, a young man with silver-white hair and red eyes. Like other members of the hero faction, he wore a school uniform, combined with a priest's coat on top of it, similar to the late mentally unstable stray priest, Fried Selzen. But the most noticeable feature about him was that he also wore a belt that held his 5 demon swords and a light sword, which were around his waist and legs, forming a sword skirt. There you are. Naruto smirked as Siegfried rushed into battle. Azazel-sensei, we leave this area to you. You got it. The governor answered back with a smirk, throwing a light spear at Cao Cao, only for him to send it away to another direction, with one of the 7 orbs he had created. Interesting ability. So I assume that each orb can do a different thing. With that said, he summoned a pair of light swords and rushed toward the leader of the hero faction, who joined force with Jean to take him on. Malphite. Leona. Naruto shouted, and the living monolith slammed his fist into the ground, sending an incoming horde of anti-monsters away with a shockwave, as Leona rushed in and fought Siegfried, preventing him from reaching her summoner. The combined effort of the two gave Naruto just enough time to activate his balance breaker, but not to empower any of his champions on the field, but to summon a unique Ducati Panigale V4 motorcycle that was silver in color and had glowing blue rims. Let's go, Rias. With that said to his girlfriend, Naruto jumped onto the vehicle that belonged to Kda All Out Akali, revving up the engine and driving it away at top speed, once Rias had climbed on and wrapped her arms around his waist. Siegfried growled in annoyance and pushed Leona back with a devastating strike of his demonic Emperor's sword Gram, to chase after the two. The Radiant Dawn was quick to recover and went after him, but she soon found herself completely surrounded by the anti-monsters, and had no choice but to fight them first. Before Siegfried could catch up to their primary target, he suddenly felt something coming at him from his left, and slashed his sword toward that direction, cutting what then appeared to be a paint spray bottle, which then unleashed a large cloud of black and silvery white smoke all around him, blocking his vision. Instantly, the white-haired swordsman used his sword Balming to create powerful whirlwinds, making the smoke disperse and reveal his attacker, a beautiful woman with blonde hair and dyed blue locks. She was dressed in a silver half jacket over a blue sporty top, and form-fitting black pants with white stripes and matching colored belt, looking more of an pop star idol than a combatant, despite wielding a multicolored, crystal-like kama that she was spinning in one hand, and a similar designed kunai that she held at her hip in the other. As dangerous as this woman could be, she was far from his main concern. Arthur? Siegfried acknowledged the swordsman standing next to the woman, who had a calm expression on his face as he unsheathed another one of his holy swords. I take that one of the reasons for you to join those filthy devils is a chance to fight me directly. You are very correct, Siegfried. Arthur replied before he turned his head around to look at Akali, giving her a nod that she returned before the rogue assassin, donning her KDA all-out skin, turned around and went after her summoner Andreas, wasting no time at all to catch up to them by leaping from building to building and moving at the speed of a highly trained superpower assassin. So, shall we? And with that, the two swordsmen charged at each other. They took the bait. Sona. We're heading to your location. Rhea shouted over the strong wind as Naruto drove them through the streets of Reykjavik, which was being overran by anti-monsters. Several tried to attack them, but they were immediately dealt with by Akali, who dashed and leapt between enemies to execute them with perfect execution strikes, removing them from the couple's path. Over a dozen members of the hero faction were also trying to chase them, but one by one, they were taken down faster than their eyes could follow by both Ari and Evelyn, who were working together to quickly assassinate their targets before moving on to the next. Having no difficulty catching up to Naruto and Rias with Spirit Rush for Ari and Shrouded Demon Shade for Evelyn, donning their KDA all-out skins just like Akali, giving them the stylish and flashy appearances of the pop star group Riot had created. Unlike other skin line, this one actually did nothing special, but gave each of their abilities a fancier look when Naruto used his balance breaker on them, as he did so only to get Akali's bike. Their plan of attack was very simple. Since Naruto was their primary target, with Office being off-limited as she was the Ouroboros dragon god, and not to mention that she was being protected by Volley and his team, it was without a doubt that the enemies would try to take him down as quickly as possible, and send their members after him. With the intel Volley had given them, they knew who were the most dangerous individuals of the hero faction, and it was Naruto's job to draw out as many of them as possible. Cao Cao, their leader, along with Jean and Heracles, would definitely try to kill Naruto as quickly as possible, no matter the answer to their threat that he would give them. Holding in his hand True Longinus, Cao Cao would no doubt have the best chance to instantly kill Naruto, but with Azazel being there with him, the chance of him getting killed on the spot was extremely low. The three would then fight until they could force at least one more core member of the hero faction to appear, which in the case had been Siegfried. Once that phase 1 had been completed, Naruto and Rias would then leave Azazel with two of his champions and Arthur to fight Cao Cao and the others, and move to the location of the nearest peerage. They would be defending their assigned areas to join force with them in an attack against the first group of magicians holding up one of the barriers around Reykjavik. Not counting that anti-monsters, which Sona and Rias had anticipated to be something of great number before fully knowing what they were when they appeared, Naruto and his girlfriend would no doubt be chased by the other members of the hero factions. But Naruto could have his champions dealt with them, specifically enlisting those who had great mobility, so that they could follow him and take down the enemies as quickly as possible. Moreover, by making them chase him around the city, the enemies would be forced to be constantly on the move, giving the peerages a better chance of defending their positions, and leaving openings for them to push forward. Hold up, is it a dragon? Naruto asked when he heard an earth-shaking roar, and looked up to see a dragon-like anti-monsters flying above them. However, it soon appeared to be not the only one, as more and more anti-monsters like it started appearing on the sky, several of which heading straight at them. Those must be anti-monsters that are created to fight Issei and Saji, dragon-type sacred gear possessors. Rias told him as Naruto moved the bike to the side to dodge a fireball, it means we are close to Sona and her peerage. Naruto, we can't reach those monsters. Ari, who had blonde hair that became pink toward the tip and crystal-like tails, told him as she ran alongside Naruto and Rias, her whole body being covered in a colorful aura that was the KDA all-out form's own version of her Spirit Rush ability. Don't worry, she can. Naruto answered the nine-tailed Gumiho, before he did a sharp turn with his bike to dodge another fireball that were fired at him. Just in time to see a woman with two wing-like objects hovering above her shoulder and long dark blue hair with green highlight tied back in a high ponytail, dashing past him at high speed, while being covering in a radiating barrier that had the same color as Ari's, leaving a trail of matching colored energy and after images behind her. She then ran up the vertical surface of a tall building and launched herself into the air, where she then began to shoot down the dragon-like anti-monsters in the air with plasma beams that were fired from the sword-like objects in her hands, which are the same design as her wings and Akali's weapons. Well, if it isn't the daughter of the Void herself. Evelyn spoke with a smirk as Kaisa opened her wings and fired a swarm of plasma missiles, her Acathian Rain ability, at the anti-monsters in the air, destroying their armors before finishing them off with a series of void blasts. Finally having real clothes to wear now, I see. The ancient demoness continued to tease Kaisa as the daughter of the void landed on the ground next to her on one knee, as the dragon anti-monsters she had killed fell down from the sky and dispersed, giving Evelyn nothing but a roll of her eyes. Kaisa then covered herself in plasma energy and swiftly dashed after her summoner, making Evelyn smirk before she followed her in her demon spade, the two champions wasting no time at all to group with the Kali and Ari, forming a defensive formation around their summoner as he reached his first target. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.